Ladies and gentlemen, if you can take just a couple of minutes to, I would say find your seat, but your spot, if you would, please. And they're still coming in. Sorry. Take that. Good job. Thank you.
I thought you said there would only be 40 people here.
I don't think I said that.
An actress's dream.
I know. It's a hot thing. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our Uxbridge Cosmos All Candidates Forum for the 2025 federal election. This is beyond my wildest dreams. I'm so incredibly happy to see so many faces. Thank you. Who says newspaper advertising doesn't work? Now they're stealing office chairs. This is great.
Somebody can have Jake.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a second. My name, for those who don't know, is Leisha Van Nieuwenhove. I am the publisher and editor of the Uxbridge Cosmos, which is the host of tonight's forum. And, oh, thank you. Thank you. I would like to extend a very warm welcome to you all, and in a little while it will be very warm, I'm sure. I would also like to extend a warm welcome to our candidates who joined us this evening. I know your schedules are very busy, and taking time to meet the constituents in your riding is valuable to both yourselves as well as to those of us in your new riding of York-Durham. You will notice that Conservative Party candidate for York-Durham riding is not present this evening. Jacob Mantle submitted this statement to the Cosmos late this morning. My thanks to the Cosmos for the invitation to participate in your All Candidates Forum. My priority throughout this election remains connecting with residents of the new riding of York-Durham. I believe that getting to know a new community takes months and years of hard work, and that why, since the very first day of being nominated as the Conservative Party candidate over 10 months ago, I have been out in the community, knocking on doors, meeting residents, business owners, and community groups, and attending the events that matter, including Remembrance Day. Full disclosure, I actually did not know that it said that until just now when I was reading it out loud. I promise. I did not know. And I've read this a couple of times today, and I did not see that phrase. I'll sulk later on. Including Remembrance Day ceremonies, agricultural fairs, and charity and service group meetings. In that time, I've met with thousands of residents and heard their concerns respecting housing, crime, and affordability, the very things that our common sense plan seeks to address. The election period contains only a limited number of days, and therefore I am unable to accept all community meeting and debate invitations. I do, however, recognize the importance of community debates, and therefore, while I am unable to accept the Cosmos' invitation, I will be participating in the Georgina Chamber of Commerce debate taking place on April 16th at the Link in Sutton. That debate will be televised and publicly broadcast, ensuring that residents not only in Uxbridge, but also across Georgina, Brock, Port Perry, and Stouffville can hear from their federal candidates, including our common sense Conservative plan to put Canada first. From my very first days serving Uxbridge on Town Council 15 years ago, I have supported the Cosmos' local journalism, and I will continue to do so should I be given the honor and responsibility of representing Uxbridge. Residents are always welcome to contact me directly at support@jacobmantle.ca. Many have already, and I look forward to hearing from many more before Election Day. It's unfortunate that Mr. Mantle can't be with us this evening. If anybody would like his chair, they're more than welcome. Given the circumstances, I think it's okay to say that. And this evening's forum is being live streamed on Facebook and YouTube, and it will be available for viewing throughout the riding and beyond on those platforms. It will also be available for late night viewing should anybody, feel like looking at it at 3 a.m. It will be available, it will be recorded. A couple of housekeeping items, if you would please turn down or turn off your cell phones so that our candidates are not distracted in any way, and you likely know, but washrooms are at the back of the hall. Now, to move on, our moderator for this evening needs little to no introduction here in Uxbridge, besides being a prolific and wonderful, thank you phone, for the columnist for the Cosmos. He happens to be an award-winning author, an eloquent public speaker, a keen journalist, a trivia buff, and an all-round just terrific guy. I now will stop talking and hand you over to our very own Ted Barris.
Who said Uxbridge was apathetic? Good evening, and thank you very much for appearing tonight at this very important event. I want to thank Leisha and the Cosmos, to whom I send my columns, and she treats them so gingerly, it's great. But I want to thank Leisha as well for the privilege of the chance to be your moderator tonight, and I emphasize that for our almost all candidates debate. I hope some of you read my Barris Beat column. Somebody came up and said they had, and I congratulated that person for being my fan. You may remember that last week my column was headlined, "Irrefutable Reason to Vote." In it, I told the story of my veteran friend Ed Carter Edwards. He was an RCAF air gunner and wireless radio operator shot down in 1944, just a few days after D-Day. Wrongly tossed into Buchenwald concentration camp, Ed was tortured, starved, injected with toxins, like a guinea pig, and then literally minutes before he was to be executed, he was transferred to Stalag Luft 3, a POW detention camp he should have been sent to in the first place. When he was finally repatriated to Canada, Ed campaigned for the 27 other Canadians who took the same treatment in that concentration camp he had, and it took much of the rest of his life. He lived into his 90s. But Ed fought and won the right for those men to receive an extra, wait for it, $3.75 a month for disability pension. Said the quiet and determined friend of mine, Ed Carter Edwards, "I knew Canada would come through." That's faith in his nation. I offer the story for two reasons. Partly as an alarm bell to Canada's federal politicians to try harder to make sure that no Canadians, armed service veterans, First Nations peoples, seniors, young Canadians, LGBTQ Canadians, immigrants, the jobless, the homeless, that nobody gets left behind. But I offer it also as an endorsement that nobody should abandon the parliamentary system that has served this country for 158 years. And that while Canada is far from perfect, it is not broken. That its politicians and civil service still care deeply about making Canada better for all its citizens. And that neither authoritarianism nor apathy are appropriate in a democracy that still attempts to deliver, and I'm quoting from our Constitution, peace, order, and good government, the basic tenets of the Constitution. Veteran Ed Carter Edwards believed that. We all must believe that. Thank you. I guess it's obvious, but in case it's not, a candidates forum is evidence that that enshrined right encourage us not to be apathetic, but to listen, to question, to research, and then make a free choice. It's a right, but it's also a privilege, as I've alluded to. It's equally important before we start to thank our candidates in that same tenor, that same thought. It takes a great deal of courage of conviction. It takes countless hours of preparation. They don't do this off the top of their heads most of the time. And just plain guts to appear in a forum to debate the issues of any election campaign. And maybe no election like no other we've ever faced has the importance, particularly in the wake of the United States presidential election last fall. But I'll leave that up to our candidates and our questioners to explore. As I said, I have the privilege of moderating tonight, so let's keep the same respect. we allowed the booing and so on earlier, and that's okay. But let's make sure that the respect among the candidates and between those of you who are here and the candidates maintains the civility that we're known for in Uxbridge. Yeah. You, the members of the audience, will have an opportunity to ask questions a little later. So will the reporting media here. We've also fielded questions all week through at the Cosmos office and online. I'll try to get in some of those questions as well. As a general rule, in the Q&A, if you have a specific question and you can direct it at a candidate, I'll give that candidate about 2 minutes to respond, and then if the other candidates want to chime in, an equal amount of time so that you have that chance. But we're going to begin with sort of introductory statements so that each candidate can introduce her or himself to you and give you a sense of what she or he stands for. It's about 3 minutes long. I'll give you a 30-second warning. And they each drew from a hat for the order to speak the opening remarks in, and then they'll do it in reverse on the other end. And the first to speak is Rob Grossi, representing the Liberal Party of Canada. Rob?
Well, first of all, thank you to Cosmos newspaper for hosting this candidates forum this evening. Thank you to Alicia, and thank you to Ted for spearheading what you're going to do here this evening. Thank you also to the candidates who are here. Congratulations on putting your name forward. Anyone who's ever done this knows that it's not an easy experience. I have some cards. I've got a little bit of a cold, so pardon me while if I cough at some point during this event. Lastly, thank you to all of you for taking the time to come here tonight. This is the most important election of our lifetime. My name is Rob Grossi. I have had the privilege of serving the people of the town of Georgina for 24 years, 17 years as their mayor. Why am I here today? Well, first of all, out of respect for you, to help you make a decision in this election. Secondly, because like many of you, I was sick of the negativity and the misinformation that I was seeing on a daily basis. Democracy is a fragile thing, and we need to do everything to protect it. I will tell you right now that I will never give up my country's sovereignty to another nation. Like you, I am Canadian, and I am very proud of it. I believe my leadership, my knowledge, and my experience will serve you well as your representative in Ottawa. Do we have some work to do? Yes, we do. I'm ready to roll up my sleeves and get to work with our Prime Minister, Mark Carney. The threats from outside have strengthened our resolve to advance interprovincial trade, expand our markets to foreign countries, and re-examine the opportunities to harness our vast natural resources Canada-wide. As long as the instability continues south of our border, we have to do everything we can collectively to support our Canadian economy. I think it's fantastic when I go to the grocery store today. It takes me maybe 20 minutes longer, but I want to make sure I'm supporting our Canadian industries.
30 seconds, Rob.
We should never allow a leader of any party in our country to pander to the interests of those who insult us by referring to us as the 51st state. And although I am not a native of Uxbridge, I will tell you that I have always admired your ability and your commitment to honor your history and respect your past. My past has taught me to work with everyone and listen to each of their concerns. We need to all find ways to talk and listen to each other again. There are many issues that we can speak about this evening, and I look forward to your questions. Throughout my career, I have given the people I represent everything that I have. I've had many successes, and yes, some failures, but I have never not given it my all. I humbly ask for your support on April 28th. Thank you.
Thanks, Rob. To speak on behalf of the Greens, Matt Pierce.
Hi, everybody. My name is Matt Pierce. I'm representing the Green Party. A little bit about myself. I've worked in the private sector my entire life. I've never had office. This is my first time running. I've worked in the automotive industry for 20 years. I've been in niche manufacturing, I've been in motorsports, and I've been in service. I have a deep understanding through my experiences of what it takes for small business to function and to thrive. I've led several small businesses through periods of exponential growth throughout my career. While I'm absolutely the underdog here, I'm bringing the positive and innovative ideas myself and the Green Party have to the public, all of you. Thank you for coming. A few of those major ideas that are most relevant to our current situation, in my eyes, are the Greens' no income tax on your first $40,000 earned. It's a tax break for everyone, but most importantly, it's a huge relief for the 1/3 of Canadians who earn less than $40,000 or up to $40,000 a year. It will let people struggling the most have a real break from the burden of the CRA that we all face. Next is our sovereignty. The Green Party has a plan to build a national civil defense force. This isn't only a way to strengthen Canada's national defense in case of physical threats to our sovereignty. It's a force that can help with natural disasters and emergencies. Having a few thousand extra helping hands around the region could have really helped during our recent ice storm, with people out of electricity for days and those most vulnerable stuck at home. I was out with a chainsaw in my yard, so I really understand what happened there. That brings me to our next major point. Infrastructure for the future. A national energy grid, federal investment into efficient homes, and federal investment into the self-generation of electricity. So many of the rural areas of our riding could isolate themselves from the poor infrastructure by having their own wind and solar on their property, owned by them, generating their own electricity and power at home. The federal government should be doing all it can for ridings like ours, which is largely rural, to remain resilient at all times. Finally, I'll touch on trade briefly. As someone who has personally imported and exported tens of millions of dollars in raw materials and finished goods, Canada needs to be doing more value add at home. Stop shipping crude oil, raw timber, raw ore, unfinished metals, unprocessed agricultural products. The wealthiest economies in the world are great at doing value add. We can do more of that in Canada. We have the skills, we have the capital, we have the workers. We just need the federal government to incentivize it. Thank you.
Thanks, Matt. Speaking on behalf of the New Democratic Party, Justin Graham.
So 2 hard acts to follow there. But I just wanted to introduce myself to you guys. I'm a resident of Georgina for 40 years. I've been helping my community in volunteerism for a long, long time. I'm a coach. I'm a father. I have family at home, and what I see is happening today. I think Rob is correct when this is a very important vote that we have ahead of us. I feel it doesn't look like there's a very good future for my kids, and that's why I threw my name in the hat, and I want to help represent our communities. So I'm here to work for you, and hopefully you guys hire me. Thanks a lot. We'll talk later.
Thanks, Justin. That's great. And Patricia Conlon from the People's Party of Canada. Patricia?
I'm Patricia Conlon, your People's Party candidate, and I'm here to give you what the mainstream parties won't, the truth. For too long, Liberal, Conservative, NDP elites have pushed policies that have eroded our freedoms, impoverished our families, and sold us out to our future to globalists. I'm running to dismantle their broken system and put Canada first. It's time for new leadership in Ottawa. It's time to elect the only party that's had these solutions to our problems, the only one standing up for you, People's Party. Look at the mess we're in because of the policies. It isn't just the Liberals, NDP, but also the Conservatives who destroyed our health, siphoned jobs, disregarded our rights, and wasted our taxpayer dollars. We see soaring costs, a housing crisis, collapsing healthcare. The mainstream parties only offer fake slogans instead of real solutions. They voted for censorship laws instead of free speech, crushing our speech and removed our parental rights. They all back unachievable net zero policies which will cripple our ethical resource sector. They all supported unconstitutional lockdowns and mandates that shattered lives and destroyed businesses, silenced doctors and nurses who dared to question their narrative, and froze bank accounts of peaceful protesters. Enough is enough. I'm a small business owner, a mother, a Christian, and a fighter. Unlike the Conservatives who didn't bother to show up for the debate, I will always stand up to protect our communities, job, and this country, which I love so much. I've created jobs, I've written 2 books, I've coached leaders worldwide. I'm not a career politician and will always vote with my conscience, offer productive solutions, and deliver results. My integrity is not for sale. My plan, lower your taxes and to support our small businesses. Pause the unsustainable mass immigration so we can fix our healthcare and housing crisis. And I want to prioritize Canadian skilled workers over subsidies to foreign temporary workers. I want to negotiate instead of retaliating with the US to protect our jobs and keep your prices low. I want to protect our green spaces from overdevelopment and clean up our air, soil, and water to protect our precious environment.
30 seconds.
We will scrap net zero and exit the Paris Accord to fuel our resource sector, restore parental rights, and protect women's and girls' spaces. And yes, I'll protect our country by fighting to exit globalist WHO and UN agendas that do threaten our sovereignty. A vote for the People's Party isn't the splitting the vote. It's the only vote that counts if you want a better future that restores health and prosperity in York-Durham. Electing me as your PPC MP will ensure I can hold the other parties accountable. We can have a Canada where your voice counts, young people can afford a home, parents are in charge, elderly can access real health care, and where meaningful work is plentiful. The People's Party stands for you and will not compromise values. I'm here for results. Let's build a Canada that's free, prosperous, and ours. I'm fighting for you. Are you with me?
Thank you. Thank you, candidates, for your introductory remarks. Thanks for giving us extra time. And I'd like to pick up on a thread that's there and that's important when an MP goes to Ottawa, and that's not to forget the people who are in your constituency. You've all spoken in really broad terms, and I think, Matt, you said something about a good idea. I want you each to think of this constituency and an original good idea that you feel addresses us, gives us a sense that you understand who we are. Okay? Who wants to go first?
I'll go.
Thanks, Matt. You can work from the microphone there. That's if you're perfectly comfortable.
Yeah, good.
Good. Thanks.
So this new riding has become very rural, and it really lacks general infrastructure. We have the 404 in a spot, but we have no GO train service. We have very bad GO bus service. The roads are medium, and obviously we just learned 3 weeks ago now, the power grid here is not good. It is what it is. This riding needs a huge amount of infrastructure investment. Infrastructure is what makes people rich. It makes the economy more efficient. It makes people's goods, services, agriculture products, everything. It's easier to get it to market. It's cheaper to get it to market. And that's just what we need in this riding.
Infrastructure, that's your, okay. Rob, how about you? An idea for us.
For us.
It's there, just a little closer, a little closer. There you go.
Well, first of all, I want to say, it's interesting when you come to a gathering like this. I like some of the thoughts that are coming out of some of the other candidates here. I'm a person that wants to sit at the desk and have that discussion with everybody because there are some great ideas. And if we can work together in this country, instead of the negativity that's been there for the last couple of years, we can go a long way.
Give me a for instance.
For instance, interprovincial trade. I don't know why that doesn't exist today, and sure, we're going to have some difficulty with Alberta. We might have some difficulty with Quebec when it comes to pipelines and movements of some of our resources. But we got to get to the table. We got to discuss these things. We're Canadians first. And I think one of the biggest things that happened to all of us is what happened south of the border. It made us look in a mirror. We're Canadians. We want to be Canadians. We want our sovereignty. And we need to look at how we can better use the resources and connect across this country. And I will just say one thing on Matt's comments. You know, my life as a local politician was all about putting partnerships together. We couldn't do it ourselves in the town of Georgina. We didn't have the industrial base or the resources to do it. As soon as we knew that the feds and the province were going to help subsidize, it was pretty easy for me to say, okay, people, it's going to be 33-cent dollars, and we're going to have some fabulous new infrastructure. And thank you, Matt. I worked pretty hard to get the 404 north. We needed to come even further north.
Thanks,
Thank
Rob. Patricia?
I've fallen in love with his riding, and it's over an hour drive from end to end at times. So we have 2 beautiful lakes, we have 2 First Nations communities, and incredibly rich farmland. I'm a holistic nutritionist, people might not know, and I've written 2 books, and I really have a lot of support from our farmers. I think one of the things this riding can do to help to eradicate some of the food scarcity and poverty we're seeing. Food bank usage is skyrocketing, and if we support our farmers by incentivizing and lowering their taxes and removing any sort of endless carbon pricing schemes, we can really boost the productivity and ensure we have food, we avoid food scarcity, and be that beacon for the rest of the province. So I really feel we have to focus on our food. Food is a solution to so many of our problems, healthy, nutritious food. And right here in York, Durham, we have some of the best farmland in Canada. I love it here.
Sure do.
Thanks, Patricia. Justin,
So as
you
I
talked
said-
about your kids.
Oh, yeah.
Tell me what you do to make their lives better.
Like again, I said I try to have a good balance, and I think that's where the kind of question is going here when it talks about this riding. Is we have a vast riding. I think there needs to be a huge balance between urbanization and the farmland, and our farmland needs to be protected. We talk about infrastructure, we talk about growth, we talk about these big highways coming in. I think the 404 took an extra, I can't exactly remember the time, but I know I was waiting for it to open, and we appreciate that, but how many piles did they have to drive into the swamp, and how much extra money did it cost us, right? So now they're talking about putting a highway through the through basically our food forest, right, and, right through the Hall Marsh, and that's a huge ecosystem. That's a huge, the cleaner of our lake. That is a huge contributor to a lot of us here, right? I know I'm more from Georgina, and Uxbridge is a little further south of it, but I think we're all in the same stance where urbanization is too spread out. We have to, the NDP is talking about allowing people to build multi-residence on their property and stuff like that, and try and condense the population into certain urban areas and allow the farmers to have their spot and have it regulated so that it's protected, and that way we can build more infrastructure like transit and stuff like that and bring it along, and that way we can save the environment. So
Thank you for those thoughts. That's great. I'm now going to turn things over to Roger Varley, my colleague from the Cosmos, for a question or 2. Roger.
Good evening, candidates. My first question, I'm going to aim at Mr. Grossi and Mr. Graham, but the other 2 candidates can also, I would welcome your input too. And it concerns housing. The last report I saw estimated there's 100,000 Canadians who are homeless. The NDP apparently is promoting the idea of building 3 million homes in 5 years, and they intend to do this by speeding construction and training thousands of workers in the industry. The Liberals' plan is to get government to be an actual developer. The government will actually build homes on public lands using prefabricated building methods. So I would like the candidates to tell me why they think their housing plan is superior to their opponents. And the Green Party and the People's Party, I'd like your comments on this too. But it's between you two guys because...
Yeah, I can start. So I'm a property valuation analyst. I look at property and its value intrinsically through the market, and that's kind of what Canada's built off is our housing. I don't think one is necessarily supreme to the other. I think that we need to do a little bit of everything. I've always thought that, you know, World War II times, Canada was a great home builder. We created a lot of properties, a lot of housing, made it affordable. At the same time, we're losing people out of our trades, you know, exponentially. So trades is almost like looked at as a, oh, maybe if you're not good at that, you can go do a trade or something, when we need to rely on the trades. We need to support the trades, we need education around trades, and we need to get more people that are interested in that. Even if they are coming in from other countries, I want them to be passionate and be able to be productive in our environment, right? And help us out in building those 3 million homes. It's a lofty goal, but if you don't shoot for the moon, then you're not gonna hit a star, right?
So thank you for the question, Roger. I think the home strategy is one that's been met with a lot of discussion, and I have probably my own sense of where we should go. I understand what my leader has said, and I appreciate what he's said, but at the same time, I've been in municipal government for a long time, and I realize the challenges, and I know that there are some municipal representatives here this evening. And governments don't necessarily build houses. Developers build houses. Governments go through a process of approving the land and then collecting money from the land and the development to pay for services in this community, like fire services, like recreational services, all of those services. Yes, we can do more as far as housing, but we got to get creative. When you go to a 100-acre site and you're building monster homes of 3,500 square feet, who can afford these things today? You've got to look creatively. There's lots of creative activity occurring in other countries, in Europe. There's small houses, there's wartime houses, there's container homes. A mix of all of those going forward will give the young people of today an opportunity for some home ownership. I don't know. I think maybe some of these big houses, we're going to have to turn them into retirement homes because only 2 people live there. You know. So I think what I bring to the table is that opportunity to have the discussion. Let's have the discussion. What should we do other than the single-family 3,500 square foot home that's being built today? Let's get creative.
Patricia and
Certainly, it's a major issue, and I've talked to a lot of youth. They feel hopeless. There's a lot of despair because they can't afford rent. We shouldn't have this in Canada. The reality is we can't build that many houses. There's been a certain cap year over year for decades, and so it's a supply and demand issue exclusively. We do need to pause immigration. Legal, lawful immigration is great. I've run a recruitment firm for many years and interviewed wonderful immigrants, but they all agree with me. It's not unkind. We have to pause immigration until we can sort out some of these issues with affordability. People's Party also recommends working with small landlords to balance the tenant-landlord relationship. I've heard a lot of frustration on both sides. We can negotiate a win-win to open up some of those basement apartments and small dwellings immediately. We also want to protect communities from high-density housing, being forced to build high-density homes, and keep the beauty of our charming communities. We want to keep mortgage rates down and limit foreign speculators. I think these are a lot of good ideas to start to get people into a home. Supply and demand is the biggest issue, and I think we can fix that with a pause on immigration to start. Thank you.
I'm going to push back on a little bit of what has been said. I think that the Canadian dream is having a big yard, a big house. That's what people my age, I'm 38, that's what we strive for. That's what we're looking for. The affordability problem is a complex international web that can't simply be solved by supply and demand or mortgage rates. Mortgage rates are done internationally. We have to stop corporations from buying houses. There are hundreds of thousands of empty condos across this country that are owned as stores of money for people, especially from foreign buyers, local buyers, people storing money, using housing as a store of wealth instead of a commodity like it used to be. When housing was affordable, it was a commodity, it wasn't a store of wealth. But we've all stored our wealth in our houses. So how do we change that? We have to change it slowly, we have to change it purposefully, and we can't just throw ideas at it. It has to be done slow to make sure we all don't lose all our equity, but we have to make sure that people are able to afford houses in the future. So for me, it starts with stopping corporations from buying houses. It starts with government-owned, long-term housing where the government sets the price for rental units. It's been done very successfully in Vancouver for people first leaving their house, and it stays affordable in the long term.
Thank you, candidates. Great answers for us. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay, my second question, and Ms. Conlon. Ms. Conlon, you touched on this in your answer to my previous question. According to the People's Party of Canada, you would stop immigration because we need to preserve our culture. You would end woke policies, and you would withdraw from various United Nations agreements such as the Paris Accord. To me, that sounds very familiar. How would Mr. Bernier, should he become Prime Minister, how would he deal with Donald Trump?
Wow, that's a packed question. And, you know, when it comes to, there are some really good aspects about the United Nations, have been in the past. So there, some of the areas do threaten our sovereignty. So those areas like the Migration Pact have been exploited, and we would withdraw from them. But when it comes to, when it comes to dealing with Donald Trump in the U.S., the best strategy to protect Canadian jobs and to keep prices low is to sit down, negotiate. Canada and China are the only two countries that haven't sat down to negotiate a fair trade, not a free trade. We can be tough negotiators, and I think People's Party would be a tough negotiator to get the best deal for Canada. If we engage in a trade war, we will lose. They're our biggest trading partner. They've been historically our best friend and our closest ally. Let's sit down and do a tough negotiation with Trump, and we can win that negotiation and protect our jobs and keep our prices low, because people already can't afford much. We don't want to increase affordability any further. Thank you.
May I just follow on Roger's question? And I understand that your response to the trade tariffs and so on is important, but I'd like you to address the question he raised about what appears to be in your literature a total withdrawal of Canada from international affairs and activity.
From the Paris Accord is one of the accords, yes, we would recommend withdrawing from. There's no benefit to Canada, and it's costly. We would use those funds instead to address the real issues with climate, cleaning up our air, soil, and water. So we would put that to good use here in Canada. For example, Lake Scugog is highly polluted. Those funds could be used for real remediation work instead.
Okay, I'd like to let the other candidates chime in on the immigration issue, the free trade issue, which came up, and withdrawal or maintenance of our relationships internationally.
You first?
Each of you will have a chance.
Whatever.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Justin?
No.
Okay.
I think we had a debate ourselves here. And I think I gave it to Rob there.
Okay, you'll get your chance.
You know what? When I turn on my TV and I see someone saying, who's the leader of the free world, that Canada has raped and pillaged their economy, I have no time to discuss anything with that man. I'm not saying that just because I'm sitting here. 2 months ago, when I sat in front of my TV, I wasn't going to be here. And I decided, after I spoke with my family, who thought I was a little bit crazy, you know, that we have to stand up for this country. I can't deal with anyone who wants to deal with someone who has been blatantly disrespectful to every Canadian in this country. I just won't do it.
Okay, immigration and please, our relationships internationally.
Immigration, you know, is anyone in this room an immigrant? Okay. We lack a lot of skills and trades in this country today. We started something in Georgina called the Georgina Trades and Trading Institute to give young people a chance to learn a trade. We need to get back to the trades. If we have to incorporate those people from other countries, come on, we need you to do that work.
Matt, no, sorry, Justin, please. And then Matt.
So yeah, kind of piggybacking off of what Rob was saying, you know, they are our closest trading partner, but I think we've gotten way too comfortable. And I think that we do need to diversify, and we need to get a little harder things done. We need to get our products to the rest of the world. I think we're well renowned around the world. People would love to have our products, and I think this is a kick in our butt to just say straighten out and go in the right direction and be a part of the whole world, as opposed to taking the easy road all the time. And that way we're not stuck in these positions where someone can bully us, because then we have our own moxie and we can go on and we can continue to sell our products, be wealthy, and continue to grow. And with the building, again, I'll touch on, you see wanted signs everywhere. We can't build the homes, as you alluded to. We don't have the workforce. That's why we are around 100,000 homes a year. If we want to get to that 3 million mark by 2030, it's going to take a lot of people, and that's going to be a lot of new people coming to this country, but we do need to have the infrastructure, and we have to have things laid up so people are looked after that are here and can get into the trades or can get into a better position, and with the people coming here to get them.
Matt?
Well, I think those were two pretty good answers. You know, you don't want to talk to your best friend when he punches you in the gut. And there are 7 billion other people in the world besides the United States that we can do trade with, we can have trade deals with. Canada is positively looked at internationally. I've lived abroad. Everybody's happy when you say you're Canadian and not American. And I think that's only going to increase, obviously, since January. On immigration, as someone who, you know, one of my parents was an immigrant, I work with about 25 people. I work in the trades, a mechanic shop. There's only 2 of us out of 25 who were born in this country. So without immigration, your car doesn't get fixed, your trucks don't get fixed, goods don't get delivered, houses don't get built. We need immigration. Simply put, we don't have enough babies in this country, and I'm part of the problem. I don't have any kids.
Okay, thanks for your comments. No,
Working too hard, Matt.
There's a real difficulty here to speak from a constituency that is, in this relative size to the rest of Canada, fairly small. But there are issues that affect at least half the people in this room. I'd like each of you to comment on a woman's right to choose, please.
Oh, I'll go first with that. As you know, the NDP has made birth control free. We're helping. We want to pad our healthcare system. We want to hire more nurses. We want to get more doctors and nurses trained. We want to have those training available. And it should always be a woman's, their body, their choice, and we should stand up for them, and we should stick up for them at any level that we're at.
I'm a strong advocate for women and women's rights, for equal pay. I also will stand up to protect women's and girls' spaces from biological males in women's sports. There's a ton of injuries happening. I will always support life and support mothers having children. I believe we should lower their tax rate. It's the most important accomplishment of my life, having children, the best thing I've ever done. And I'll always nurture and support life, but let a woman make her own decision. I will vote against late-stage abortion, and encourage families with incentives to have more children. The problem with our immigration cycle is it's making affordability hard. It's making it harder for families to see a future with children. So I want a pathway towards life instead of always rejecting life. And I will do everything I can to make the affordability so young families can have more children. Thank you.
Thank you. Rob?
Well, I have 3 older sisters, and I live with 3 women. So,
Would you like to clarify that, please?
the Liberal Party fully supports a woman's right to choose. And the Liberal Party will always defend access to safe sexual and reproductive health services, including abortion and contraceptives. And I will follow that edict if I'm lucky to be your representative in Ottawa.
Thanks, Rob. Matt?
I think Rob summed it up pretty good there. Nothing more to add from what Rob said.
Okay, thank you. Okay, you've alluded to children. I'm the child of the CBC. The man who didn't come here tonight, his party leader, wants to defund the CBC. I want your thoughts on it. In what?
Yeah, I can go first. Yeah, you know what? So I think that to have our own public news organization is a need. I don't think it's a want. It's something that we need. You should have. And that being said, like they're one of the only news organizations that I watch and listen to that I've ever heard correct themselves on any misstatements. You know, and try and make the fact straight and trying to straighten the record. We need this kind of publicly funded news organizations because you can see all the other news organizations that we have today have been coming up in court as entertainment as opposed to giving us true facts and news. So.
Yeah, good.
Rob?
Look up. Look way up. You know, I grew up with the CBC, and it's our national news network. I know that there are some people that are upset with the CBC. I believe in a Canada-wide news network, and I will always support the CBC, and my party will always support the CBC. And I'm not related to Bruno Gerussi, just so you know.
Patricia?
I believe the CBC is a culture icon in our country. Some of our best reporters came out of that in the past. However, over the past few years, there's been a drop in integrity and accountability and truth. And so I fully support alternative media, and I think the CBC has to get back to its roots of fair and balanced reporting instead of one-side reporting. Otherwise, they should be subject to a loss of revenue. So I think everybody needs to be accountable in the roles they have to serve the public, to engage in debate, and to strengthen and unify our country through diverse opinions. The way COVID was handled it has created such division because of reporting that families have been divided, and that is unacceptable. So hopefully, lessons will be learned, and fair and balanced reporting will occur in the future.
Thanks, Patricia. Matt?
I'd just like to say I'm 100% proponent of the CBC. I'm maybe a couple years younger than some of the other candidates and people here, but I also grew up on the CBC, and I think it's extremely important that we have at least one news outlet in this country that is not owned by corporations and owned by private money.
Thank you. I'm going to invite people to come to the microphones. Microphone in the middle if you'd like to ask questions. Before you move there, a couple of quick suggestions of rules here, please. If you go to the microphone you'd like to speak, would you first give us your name? And if you're representing an association or a lobby group or an organization that has a number of people here, please let us know what that is so that the candidates will know whom they're dealing with. And ask, if you can, put your particular interest in phrasing your thought in a question so that they can respond. And then I will give the candidates equal time to add to the comment of if it's targeted specifically. Before you, and you can please move to the microphone. I have one question was brought to my attention by a good friend, and I'm going to throw this out because this plays to who you are and your strengths that you would bring to this job. Let us imagine that each of you has the good fortune to be elected and that you have a government around you, that you are in power. What portfolio would you like to have, which would draw from your capabilities, abilities, and strengths? And conversely, if you did not, if you were elected but were not made government, how would you represent us in opposition? Who would like to have a crack at that one? Rob.
Yeah. You know, I grew up in the city of Toronto, born and raised, decided to move to the shores of Lake Simcoe some 40 years ago. And I don't think, there always used to be this comment that I would hear that we're going to build, and we're going to help support you in Northern Ontario or Northern York region. And they would say, we're going to Aurora. I would say, I think knowing this area, knowing the area that I've represented, probably rural affairs, I would want to speak with people about the needs within especially these rural areas. We have different needs than the urban areas. We need to protect our farmland.
Sounds like a new portfolio.
Yeah, well, it could be. Could be. I'd love to be able, and that's, you know, my essence is to be able to sit at the table. I've got to tell you, sitting here and listening to some of the other comments from the candidates, I like some of their ideas. I think we should be able to work together in this country for the betterment of this country. But I agree with that. Anyways, I'm about rural affairs. We're still fairly rural. We need some help. We need some infrastructure that Matt was talking about, and I think rural affairs would be a good portfolio.
So you're rural affairs, but you want to be agriculture minister, right? Well, no, you're the auto man. You probably want immigration and
Trade. I want trade. I want trade.
Why?
I've NAFTA essentially, the NAFTA Accord essentially guaranteed me a job for my entire life. And most of my friends' lives, and their friends, and their friends, and their friends. I've operated a CNC machine shop. Without those free trade agreements, there would be no way that we would have been able to get into the U.S. market and other markets now with TPP, Trans-Pacific Partnership, into the Japanese, Australian markets, and with the European free trade agreements into those European countries. It's made our products cheaper, and I'm a big advocate of getting free trade everywhere.
Okay.
Bring some to the rural areas.
Yeah. That's the infrastructure.
What would your portfolio be?
I would take healthcare. I'll tell you a couple of quick stories. One of them's sad, but one of them's very happy. I lost my husband a number of years ago. We came here to Port Perry. We bought a dealership. We raised our children here. But his death was as a result of prescription pharmaceuticals. And safe and effective was, what I learned, was more of a slogan than a reality. So when COVID hit, I couldn't stay silent, and I spoke out to protect my communities. And the evidence of the COVID lockdowns and mandates is overwhelming. So what I would do is, I have deep knowledge in healthcare. I would like to restore integrated medicine, repeal Bill C-47, which is an attack on our natural supplement industry. I'd like to hold public health officials accountable for gross government overreach, as well as associations. And I'd really like to restore lifestyle and proper nutrition. I'll tell you a quick story that happened to me, because we can restore health, and I'm so passionate about this. Just this week, my cat, who I love dearly, became gravely ill. $2,000 later, there was no diagnosis, and just pills that made him sicker. And he was told that's end of life. I have to put him down. This was during my campaign. I tapped into my natural healing modalities, which cost pennies. I turned him around, and my cat is thriving today. This can be your loved one who's sick. We can restore health with better leadership. That's the portfolio I would take to help our communities. Thank you.
Thanks, Patricia, and we certainly sympathize and appreciate the sentiment there. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Justin, your portfolio.
So I know I've always tried to take on the hardest jobs in my life. I started in construction when I was pretty young. Someone told me that roofing was hard, and I said, well, I can do that. Then someone said bricklaying was hard, and I went in to do that as well. So I think I'd want to be the housing minister and try and help this country build the homes that we need to house our people. Again, I think there is lots of stock out there that's being held up through other financial interests. But we do have a great workforce here. We build some of the best things on earth, and housing is one of them. And if we can just, train more people, get more people interested in the trades, we can build the homes that we need in order to fill that supply void.
Thank you. Very, very creative answers. Thank you so much. Go to the microphone now on the floor. Again, if you wouldn't mind I know most of the people, but go ahead, identify yourself and ask a question, please.
My name's Ted Ing. I was elected once. I just got out of the hospital and had surgery. That hospital was busy. And when I went to the clinic, it was overflowing all the time. Now, I'm a farmer, an organic farmer. I grow 150 acres. At one time, I had 25 workers. When Mr. Trudeau got in, he audited me, all the workers across Canada, all the offshore workers. We made money in 2015. My family paid income tax. All of my family paid income tax. After the audit was done, he took away my workers. What if GM shut down GM and took away workers? You know the weeds in my greenhouse were that tall? I got 11 grandchildren, and I'm thinking of the future. My son is my partner. I'm thinking of selling. I can get $4, maybe $5 million for 150 acres. And then there goes, my son is well educated. He's got a degree in business administration. This is sad. There's no money for capital. And then you had the carbon tax. I led a protest last year on the carbon tax in through Uxbridge. I never burnt one less liter. And I paid up to $10,000 to $12,000 a year.
Ted, please, a question.
I phoned my MP back in 2016. She didn't even pick up the phone. I phoned her twice. She never even answered. My question
please.
is,
Thank you.
now will you cut it up, Ted, and let me speak?
I'm just asking for a question, Ted.
I know, I got a question. Will you be responsible when you get elected and phone back, even though I'm a longtime conservative? I know Michael Manley. He went to school with my daughter. I can talk to him like I'm talking to anybody in this room. And I'm sad that he's not here tonight, but will you phone me up if I have a problem? We worked 2.5 years before we got profitable again. And I'm really mad about this because there's no capital out there.
Okay, I think we understand that, Ted, and I welcome responses from each of the candidates.
And I'm thinking of my 11.
You want responsibility. You want response and responsibility. He's asking
and
that
there was
question.
none from the Liberal Party, I'll tell you that.
Okay.
I'm not biased.
Okay. Well, Ted, first of all, I'm sorry that you had the incident that you had with the audit.
Jennifer O'Connor.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I don't want to get into the issues of your audit because that would be irresponsible of me to talk about your audit.
They found $50 missing.
Well,
and they told me
I don't want.
give me a week to pay it.
I don't want to talk to you about your audit, but I will tell you.
You better talk to me because that is still.
Ted, I think you phrased all of the things you wanted addressed, and he's trying to respond. So give him some room.
Well, they never responded to me.
Okay, he's
and I
trying
gave them
now.
lots of time.
Thanks very much, Ted.
Okay. Thanks, Ted. All I can say is that my previous experience, I phoned my constituents back. I talked to them. I spent so much time talking to my constituents. You can ask my daughters. We'd be driving to a hockey game in Toronto, and I'd say, start calling. And I would talk to people as I went to a hockey game, just because I had to catch up on people that had asked me questions about what was happening in my community. And I think everybody here agrees with that. It's a shame that you didn't get a call back, but that's what people do. I would have called you back, I'm sorry. And I hear your plight, I hear it in your voice, but I think we've got to look at where the future is going in this country, and I think the Liberal Party, under the leadership of Mark Carney, will take us there. Thank you.
Patricia?
I just wanted to address two things quickly. I know, Ted, we go to the same church, but the Conservative Party of Canada has also let farmers down. All of them pushed these carbon taxes that have made it almost impossible to make money and have impacted their lives and our food security. The People's Party has the best platform for our farmers and food security, and we would abolish the capital gains tax and the inheritance tax to make it easier to pass down farms intergenerationally. This is huge to maintain our farming communities. We will push for better methods, regenerative farming, protecting our soil, hold polluters accountable, but protect our farmers, and I will always be there to pick up a call. I'm here, I'm showing up, I've been fighting for 4.5 years while the Conservatives haven't been doing their job. Thank you.
Patricia. Great. Justin?
Yeah, Ted, I'd like to say, first of all, thank you very much for sharing. I took this position because I think I'm going to work for you guys, and I got 2 ears, and I need to listen to what you guys want, and I need to know what I'm representing. Yeah, I may have my own ideas, but I represent you, and I want to hear what you have to say, and I'll bring it to whoever I can bring it to make sure that I'm working hard for you guys and your voices get heard.
Thank you, Matt.
I'm a serial responder. In small business, if you don't reply to people, you don't make money. And in this,
That's a good one.
it would be the constituents who are the customers, and you have to talk to them and make sure you're representing their ideas and their concerns. I'm going to touch on the farming thing again. I kind of agree with Patricia about no inheritance tax on farms to keep them in the family. Farmers get hit 6 different ways from Sunday about all different kinds of things. And I'm going to touch on the carbon tax too for a second here. Even though I'm a Green, representing the Green Party, we were opposed to the carbon tax simply because it was a tax for a tax. It didn't actually put any extra money into government coffers. So we were paying for this self-sustaining tax that didn't actually make the government any extra money. It just hurt our pockets. It didn't pay down the debt. It didn't do anything. It was just a bureaucratic nightmare.
Okay, thanks for your responses to help respond to Ted's query and concern. Next questioner, please.
Hi, everyone. My name is William P. Stevenson, and I live in Port Perry, 4.5 years from Toronto. I grew up in a city of concrete and glass, and I came here to get away from it. And I'm proud to be here now. Thank you for welcoming me to your community. My question is, the grab and seize tax. The man who says he wants to axe the tax isn't here. I wanted to ask him why his party will not abolish the grab and seize tax, better known as the GST, that penalizes every single person every time they spend a nickel at the store. Why will they not get rid of that tax? Which of your parties will get rid of the grab and seize tax?
Thank you for your question.
So I think we put out there to get rid of the GST on all necessity items for children at the grocery store and stuff like that. So I'm sorry, not at the grocery store, for pre-prepared meals and all things like anything that we need to operate day to day. again, that's higher levels than I'm at right now, but this is what they're putting forward, and I would have to study into that a lot more and figure out what the best case scenario would be to what you guys would want for me to push if I ever got lucky enough to represent you.
But
So
you're the housing minister, you just said.
well, there's a lot of things we can fix there. It's a long list.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Canadians are overtaxed and our money is being wasted and squandered. And it's the Conservative Party of Canada who brought in this outrageous tax. And yeah, they actually call they axing the tax. They're maxing the tax by engaging in tariff war. So People's Party wants to lower your taxes and put money back in your pockets. People need that. We can do that by eliminating all of the wasteful spending. So I absolutely agree with you. People can barely afford to live in Canada. It's a real tragedy in a rich country. So I'm totally on your side, and People's Party is there with you too.
Rob?
Well, one of Mark Carney's first initiatives was to cancel the carbon tax, and I appreciate what he did. Well, you know, I think at this point in time, everything's on the table. So I'll be honest with you. I'm not sure what the party position is with respect to that, but I will tell you, I'll take your issue forward and have it discussed at the table. That's all I can tell you.
Matt?
The Green Party on the GST, we have a different way of doing it. It's to eliminate the tax up to your $40,000 on income tax. It means up to $40,000 you pay no income tax, and that's 1/3 of Canadians. So that's going to help affordability for everybody. Because even if you make $100,000 a year, you're still not paying income tax on that first $40,000.
Thanks, William, for your question. Appreciate it. Next questioner. Let's get the microphone so she can use it properly. Thanks.
Hi, my name's Bella, and I was wondering, so a lot of Canadian stores downtown still have American supplies and have tariffs on them. And I'm still learning about federal elections and stuff like that. But I was wondering, how are you going to respond to Trump and America with all the tariffs?
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Can I grab this one first?
You may.
If you drive by 87 Mulonk Drive in Newmarket, you can see the road signs in front of my business that say "No U.S. parts used." I've almost completely cut U.S. supplies out, except in necessities when I need an OEM part. But there are alternatives worldwide.
And this is in your automotive work, I understand, correct?
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. There are alternatives worldwide for every product that isn't coming from the United States. There are high-end products come from Europe, lower-end products come from Asia. There's a lot of middle-quality stuff, and there's a huge amount of extremely high-quality stuff built right here in this country. You just have to search a little bit more for it. The Americans have more marketing dollars. You see it on your Instagram feed. You see it on your Facebook. But if you search for a Canadian alternative, you can find it. And if it doesn't exist in Canada, it exists somewhere outside of the United States. And we can support those people, those countries who support us.
I don't think Bella was in the market for a car, but...
Not yet. Come see me in about...
If I might ask, Bella, what was it you saw in the window that you saw the tariff on? That caught your eye?
We were at Canadian Tire,
Yeah.
and we were trying to get air humidifiers.
Yeah, okay,
And
so
we
an
went
appliance.
there. Yeah, and there were two options. There was an American one, and one that came from China. Nothing there that came from Canada in a Canadian store.
Interesting.
Can I pop on one caveat to this? The tariff still applies if it's warehoused in the United States. So we have to actually cut out the warehousing of the United States. So if there's a warehouse in the United States, even if it's made in Australia or Japan or Germany or France, if it's warehoused in the United States first, we still have to pay the tariff on it when it comes across the border. So we also need to work on warehousing in this country.
Yeah.
Justin?
Yeah, I just want to first off say very brave of you to come up. That's awesome.
Yeah.
What a wonderful question. Thank you. I think this is an opportunity for us, really. I think the young people are starting to see that we can't rely on the United States, and a lot of the other goods are pretty far away, and it takes a lot of energy to get it here. So maybe it's a good opportunity for us as well to start manufacturing more of our own products, start doing more of that, making our own stuff and being Canadian proud, and again, sending it to other places, and maybe have them buying our stuff all the time instead of us taking all theirs, right?
you.
Thank you.
Patricia and then Rob.
Great question, and as a small business owner, I've always been supportive of Canadian business. That's why I spoke out loudly when they locked our little businesses down, and I'll always stand up for small businesses. The reality with this tariff situation is Canada's manufacturing sector was decimated decades ago. It is going to take a while to rebuild it, but we can. We can build that east-west pipeline to diversify our sales of our ethically sourced oil and gas. Right now, though, the pipeline goes right into the U.S. They're our largest customer, you know, and they could turn it off. So we must diversify for sure, and we also must build our infrastructure for manufacturing, but that will take time. Buying in Canada is great, and I support that fully, but I must say we put tariffs on a lot of American products. People don't know that, up to 200%. And so when you look at, dairy, poultry, telecom, the list is actually quite long. Yeah, no, it's true. And so we can also, we don't want to lose jobs. We must sit down and negotiate a better deal.
Okay,
we
thank
can
you.
do that.
And Rob.
Yeah, very quickly. First of all, thank you, Bella. I hope you stay engaged in the political arena for years to come. We need young people like you to be there. So, Bella, you're right. You know what? Our Prime Minister has said very clearly that we want to incentivize small business in this country. Pardon me? Ted, you had your question. We want to invest. We want to make sure that people have an opportunity to compete, and if they can compete, the problem is that the cost of providing those goods today within this country is pretty high. So there's got to be, I'm sure Matt understands, when you're building a car part, you've got to be competitive in the global economy. So we have to incentivize, we have to give people an opportunity, and we bring them to the table to make that happen.
Thanks, Rob.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bella. Bella for president.
Yeah.
Good evening, and thank you all very much for running. It's not an easy job, and it's a very important election, so thank you. The four of you are doing a great job.
Thank you.
My name is Adele Boy, and I'm not speaking on behalf of any organization. My question is about international policy. We're a member of the international community. Canada has always been a leader in peacekeeping, and as a middle power, we still have potential in doing that. So my question is, what is your party's position moving forward on the Gaza situation, and how do you support Palestine?
Well,
Matt?
Oh, that's a loaded question. I'll take it. I think that the situation in Gaza, Israel has basically been running an apartheid state through the Gaza Strip and the West Bank. I know
It's
lots.
also the West Bank, not just Gaza. It's
yeah,
also the West Bank.
Yeah, West Bank and Gaza. They agreed on a two-party solution with Yasser Arafat a long time ago, and that kind of got torpedoed. You know what? I don't know that much about the situation, but I do understand human suffering, and the Palestinians are suffering.
Okay,
The Israelis have a right to defend themselves. We can all agree on that. They have had to defend themselves many times, but that doesn't mean you can, basically keep people in an open-air prison. That's my opinion.
What would your party do moving forward? What would be your policy? Do you support the two-state solution, the one-state solution? Are you willing to ask for UNRWA to be reinstated? Are you willing to ask for an embargo on arms from Canada? What's your party's position?
You've got to make me look at my notes.
Okay, while he's doing that, Rob, please.
yeah, so the Liberal Party, we continue to condemn the October 7th massacre that took place. It should never happen. There should never be an opportunity for that to happen anywhere in the world. So Our party condemns that. We'll take every effort to reestablish a relationship in Gaza and ensure the resumption of aid for Gaza. I guess probably the number one thing is we need to build a viable path to achieving a lasting peace. These things happen internationally. We're not really trained to deal with these kinds of situations, but we need to get to the table with people who are extremists to bring a solution together. And Canada has been very good at peacekeeping. All you've got to do is look at what we did years ago. Well, you know what? Are you going to close the door today? You know, we need to take a stand.
Moving forward, it was my question.
Moving forward, we need to get to the table. We need to talk to those individuals and come to some sort of a peace accord.
Thanks, Rob.
And do you
Patricia?
support the two-state solution or the one-state solution?
The two-state solution versus the one-state solution, I'm not too sure, I'll be honest. I'm not too sure. I think they both have their positives and their negatives. The two-state solution gives both of them an opportunity to have some sort of independence. The one-state becomes a little bit more difficult, but
Well, that's what we have, is the one-state solution,
yeah.
so that's
Patricia?
what we're asking, yeah.
Please, Patricia.
Thank you. The People's Party is different. We support peace. We're a pro-peace party. We support peace through prosperity and economic prosperity. Our position is to strengthen our Canadian military, rehire people who were fired from the mandates, support our veterans and homeless, defend our border, to defend the Arctic, and become a strong peacekeeping nation and
What is your policy on
nation.
Palestine and Israel, is my question.
We support peace, and we will help to negotiate and achieve peace between the two parties, as well as in other countries.
Okay, Justin?
So I'm going to be very quick with this. You know, it's a very touchy subject, and I just haven't done enough research on this at this point in time. I don't like to see children losing their lives. I don't like to see anyone losing their lives. It's a very horrible situation that's going on. I don't have an answer for you. I apologize.
Okay.
But that's, I just, you know.
Just for interest's sake, I don't know who the person was who yelled out, it started on October the 2nd. It started.
No, it started a long, long time ago.
It
We'll say
started
that.
in 72 years ago.
yeah.
Thanks,
So
Adele.
just so that the
Okay.
thing is straight.
Next questioner, please.
These are vital places around the whole world, right?
Good evening. My name's Janet Betts. I live in a small hamlet for 41 years in the northwest corner of Durham. My question for each and every one of you is this. I want to know what your policy is on bail reform. Currently, our police departments are battling criminals left, right, and center. They arrest them. Within 72 hours, the alleged criminal has to have a bail hearing. Quite often, it's a turnstile, and they're back out on the street, and they are repeat offenders. A bail reform, which is I want your policies on, requires legislation and law change. Each and every one of you, what is your policy?
Sure.
Bail
Justin, go ahead.
reform.
Sure, yeah. I'm not sure my party's view on that, but I do understand what you're saying. I hear this a lot in the community, and it's definitely something that needs to be looked at. You know, I think a lot of our policies, a lot of things that we have are built around things that we used to deal with in the past. We've become a much different country. We have a lot more people. We're ever changing. We have to get ready to change with it and change with the future. So I definitely don't disagree that these things have to be looked at and the right choices have to be made to do the right things for Canadians.
Matt?
I'm a little lacking on the bail reform, but I will tell a short story. I had a guy come to me one day, scary kind of looking dude. He asked me for a job. I said, "Can you work?" He said yes. He said, "I have to call my parole officer." He was in jail for a violent crime for many years. He came out and he was reformed. He was really reformed. He was a great worker. He owns his own business now. He's married. He's doing great. And I think just from a personal experience, his experience can prove that people can be rehabilitated and come back to society. But honestly, I don't know that much about bail. I've never had to deal with the police.
Thank you for the anecdote, however. Appreciate it. Rob and then Patricia?
Well, I think it's more than just bail reform. I think it's judicial reform. There are a lot of things that are going on in this country where people need to be held responsible for their actions. And it's got to work through the judicial system. So, you know, it's a complicated system the way it is today. And I get you. You know, I would hate to have someone on bail who caused harm to my family. But I think it's part of a bigger picture. It's all about judicial reform and making sure that the tools are there, because right now the tools aren't there for the judges and those who are the Crown attorneys that are providing bail.
That's because the law needs to be changed
So?
legislatively.
So,
Patricia?
okay.
Ask a cop. He'll let you know all about bail reform and what they're looking for.
People's Party came in because we need reform, and I completely concur that we need bail reform. Judges are appointed, not elected now, and they're extremely biased. They are not upholding the law. Catch and release has failed, and repeat offenders are harming our kids. We need to enforce the law. I agree with you on bail reform. And also, we need to deport criminals and illegals. Again, we've allowed over 1 million people into the country. Some of them are wonderful, but that's too many and improperly screened. So yes, definitely bail reform. And we can reform prisons as well, because some people, you know, gardening as an example, Bible classes, people can go into these and be reformed and come out better people for sure as well. But bail reform, I totally agree with you.
Okay, thanks for your question. I don't know that you got a full answer on it, but at least you raised it, and I appreciate it.
I would suggest that each and every one of you educate yourself on what's going on out in the street now.
Sure.
With a police officer who has to face it day to day.
Thank you.
And
Thank you, Janet.
educate yourself on what's required for bail reform.
Appreciate it, Janet. That's great.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Ron Baumeister. They call me also in my groups the Flying Dutchman. I was privileged to be in a lot of events, even with Mark Carney 5 feet away. I told him the truth what I thought about him. I was in by the conservative rallies, fantastic, very positive. So first of all, I'm one of them. They call me one of them. I was lucky to be the first time in Ottawa when I felt first time in my life in 38 years as a Canadian. First time. And I was under the freedom movement. Then I went to Holland and stand up with the farmers with Mark Rutte, the buddy of Trudeau. I went to the World Economic Forum. I found a lot of stuff out, and it's not pretty. Now, Rob, I have a question for you. Oh, first of all, everybody says Canada's not for sale. Well, Mr. Trudeau sold it already to his bankers to get more taxpayers through interest from us. And all people here who love the Liberals, I don't care if you're liberal, conservative, whatever, but these people stink.
Okay, excuse me.
So,
I
no,
have to
I'm not
interrupt.
done. I'm not done.
I'm sorry.
No,
but-
I'm sorry too.
I'm sorry.
So I'm almost done.
If you have a question,
Well,
raise
it's
it.
fine. So Canada's already sold, and Mr. Trudeau, Mr. Carney is in bed with Donald Trump.
How do you know?
I know.
Oh.
I did the information. Hey, they've been on the same islands raping little girls.
Mr. Baumeister, I think we're looking for a
True.
question.
It's really true.
Okay. I think you've
It's
raised...
okay. You cannot, but you people don't do, some people don't do the research.
Okay.
But
Okay.
I think
my
it's-
question is,
What's your
how
question?
can you represent somebody who made this country so bad that I have friends living in tents, and Mr. Carney gives $1 million to Gaza? Canada's bleeding, sir. There's the makers and the takers. I'm a maker.
Okay,
and
thank
there's
you
a lot
for the
of
question.
takers.
Thank you, Mr. Baumeister.
And I'm not done.
I'm
I
sorry,
will-
you are done,
Oh,
because
wow.
I think
Yeah, you're
you're going to
liberal too.
allow you're going to allow the candidate to respond or not. This is a democracy, sir. He has a right to speak.
Okay, let me speak. Sorry,
Thank
right.
you.
You're absolutely right. I'm upset.
Well, Mr. Trudeau was not the leader today. Mr. Trudeau is not the leader today. I will admit that the Liberal Party made some mistakes in the past.
It's criminal.
Well, hold on. I have total faith in Mark Carney as the leader of this country, as our Prime Minister. Okay, thanks.
What about the 10 years he was?
Okay. Thank you very much.
Well,
Next questioner, sorry.
Good evening. My name is Jeremy Andrews. I am a lifelong resident of Uxbridge, except for the time that I spent serving this country in the Canadian Armed Forces.
well, congratulations.
This country and this election is on the precipice of something that I have feared my entire life. The country that I once swore an oath to defend has now become a country that I am afraid that I will have to defend my children from. Because and I apologize to single you out, Mr. Grossi. I commend your right and your ability to sit up there. However, the state we are in is a direct result of soft on crime liberal policies, to include removing the mandatory minimum sentence for violent sexual offenders against children. I have 4 children. I have 2 teenagers and I have twin 6-year-olds. Okay? What are you and the rest of you, what are you going to do to address the rampant pedophile problem in this country and protect children? What are you going to do to prevent violent sexual offenders from reoffending because they get let out on bail or they get let out on good behavior a year after they get sentenced?
Thanks for your question.
Thank you.
Well, first of all, thank you for your question, Jeremy, and thank you for your service to this country. It's appreciated. I'm not sure how I can answer that question except that you're right. There are many situations in this country today where there are violent offenders that are out and they're in the middle of our society. We have to ramp up through the judicial system. We had a question a little bit earlier. Through the judicial system to make sure that our judges and our crown attorneys and everyone else has the tools to do what they've done to some. Like Paul Bernardo at least has been behind bars for many years. I don't even think he should have been at a minimum security, and I'm not sure whether that's part of an overall national policy or what it is. But you're right. We need to strengthen those laws. I'll agree with you 100%.
Matt?
Again, thank you for service, and agree 100%. We need to invest in the RCMP and OPP cybercrimes units because, let's face it, those pedophiles, it starts with this. They need to be found out before anything violent happens, and if anything does happen, or even if it's found on this may go against my party lines. Lock them up, forget the key. It's done.
Patricia?
Thank you for your service to our country. I totally support you. I've talked to a lot of police officers, and People's Party of Canada will enforce the law to the fullest, will support police officers, will stop the safe supply sites near our children's schools, and we will not be soft on crime. We will deport criminals and get them out of our country to clean up our streets. Thank you.
Justin?
So yes, you know, the same with everybody else here. Thank you very, very.
Ladies and gentlemen, please give the other candidate a chance to respond. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your service. And you're 100% right. These people need to be held accountable. I think that's the ultimate sin, is to mess with our children. That's our future. That's why I love having the young one come up and ask some questions. This is what it's all about. This is what, yeah, phenomenal job. That's what we're here for, right? We're here for all our kids, the people behind us, and we want to stand up for them and do what's right. So yes, something needs to be done.
Thanks, Jeremy.
I plan on leaving now just because I need a minute, but can I come up and shake your hands on my way out?
Anytime.
Sure.
Yes,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Anytime.
absolutely, anytime.
Sure. Thanks, Jeremy. Thank you for your service, buddy.
Next question, please.
Dave Selassie from Willow Beach in the town of Georgina. And
Whoa,
hey,
a long way.
5. Right? Not.
You came all this way to find your neighbor?
Never see him at home. I don't represent anybody, but full disclosure, I did serve 11 years on council with one of the candidates up there. So I want to change direction just a little bit, if I can, from the flow where we've been going with the questioning so far. We border on some of the greatest, most magnificent bodies of water anywhere. And particularly, I've got a very strong affection for Lake Simcoe. We also have Scugog down here, closer to where we are now. I'm feeling very fearful about it. And I don't want it to be dismissed right away, because as a navigable waterway, it does come under federal jurisdiction. So the feds do have a responsibility for the lake, a lake that is now choking on nutrient pollution, the nitrogen and phosphorus. I just heard this week, too, a warning going out to people with heart ailments to be cautious about drinking the water because the sodium levels are now becoming risky. We are contaminating all of our water systems with our salt use. Going into the water bodies, Simcoe especially, is building up a high nutrient base because the water only leaves by evaporation. Right. I'm very worried the major parties have made declarations about removing federal impediments to development. That is, removing federal environmental assessments to limit dangerous developments around water bodies. So my question is to the candidates, particularly in this concern that affects us directly in our freshwater bodies and our drinking water sources. How can we use the tools of the federal government to pick up and protect the lake when our provincial governments have not done that task?
Good. Who wants to go first? Justin?
Yeah, I can go first. Yeah, so thank you very much for the question. And again, pardon me to anyone here that is on Lake Scugog, but I'm a big fan of Lake Simcoe myself, being just off the lake for over 40 years here. And yeah, I've watched it be a wonderful place to snorkel when I was younger. Now we have a lot of algae bloom, and sometimes you can't go swimming because you even go on your jet ski or whatever because you might drink some water and go blind or something, right? So I think that's top priority for us. I think that's where a lot of our drinking water comes from. It's a huge aquifers underneath the ground around it that we use. It's something that we really need to take care of. And
what would be more specific than that in terms of his attempt to protect the water and to change, change the thinking that might have one level of government restricting the development that's harming the lake in his view and another that doesn't?
Yeah, so what I'm trying to say is basically we need to spend more on looking after the lake, looking after how this stuff happens, and obviously we're putting a tremendous amount of salt everywhere. The equipment we use is getting older and older. You see piles of salt at every intersection, like they sat there with the salter on. So at the end of the day, I think there needs to be regulation put in that the only certain things can be used around our lake and around our aquifers, because without water, that's our main source of life, right? So I think that's something that we really need to look into.
Thank you, Patricia.
Thank you. It's a great question, and I love our lakes as well. I'm by Lake Scugog, and I've actually presented to council quite a number of times on this issue, and I've investigated some of the environmental concerns regarding our lakes. So unlike the Conservative Party, I would absolutely protect our green spaces and our waterways. A huge lover of nature. I would not force municipalities through dollars to do any development. When it comes to our lakes and the contamination, I think we do need to remediate. I have looked into the method for biosolids with some high-level scientists and presented papers, and the biosolids are not properly processed with the anaerobic digestion plants as stated, and so a lot of these toxins are leaching from our soil into the lake. And I've talked to a lot of our local farmers about this issue because they are getting sick and their animals are getting sick from these, they've called eco-friendly biosolids, but they're not. So that's one thing I really want to look into. I've already talked to MPP Todd McCarthy about this specific issue, and he's willing to work with me if I am elected. I'm very passionate about this, and I think we can remediate our lakes to make them clean again. Also, our municipal water is also very contaminated, and our First Nations, that's just atrocious that we don't have clean drinking water in Canada. So I'll be very dedicated to cleaning up our waterways.
Rob?
Sure. Water's going to be a commodity that goes up the ladder very quickly over the next few years, because having clean water is going to be a commodity that people are going to talk about more and more and more. I'm not sure if all of you know, but York Region had proposed a reverse osmosis plant on the Holland River. It was going to do 40 million liters of treated sewage a day and then pour that treated sewage water into the Holland River. When I was on regional council, I was the only one that opposed that development. It was an $800 million development. Some of the staff at York Region hated me because it was their project and they wanted to see it go through. But I knew it would affect Lake Simcoe in many different ways. You can tell me every different way that you can treat sewage, but if you put 40 million liters of treated sewage into a river that flows into Lake Simcoe, something's bound to happen at some point in time. So I think, David, what we need to do is we need to reinvest in the Lake Simcoe Protection Act and include other lakes like Lake Scugog and bring partners to the table. I said it earlier, the local municipalities can't do it alone. The Conservation Authority can't do it alone. We need to bring people, and so there needs to be a policy federally that deals with those kinds of lakes in all of our communities, and I will champion that to the best of my ability as the Minister of Rural Affairs.
And Matt. First off, what an excellent question. A little bit less stressful than the last few here. I think it starts with three sort of federal ideas. It's an office for the Department of Fisheries and Oceans on Lake Simcoe, which could cover all the small lakes around us. It could cover Musselman Lake, Lake Scugog. All these lakes in our area could be covered by the Department of Fisheries and Oceans. And it means having Coast Guard presence too. And those two federal agencies could work with the universities to do real research to look at the levels of pollution in the lake, fish stocks, pollutions, runoff, all those things into the aquifer. That's the way the federal government can really affect our local lakes, is to have real federal agencies and boats on the water protecting it.
Some of the most constructive answers of the night. Thank you for the question.
Thanks a lot.
Ted, can I just provide one? You know, we are very fortunate to have two First Nations that are part of our riding. And many years ago, we signed a friendship agreement before anybody talked about land acknowledgements at the beginning of a meeting. I think they are key to the resource and to make sure that everybody is accountable for the lakes that they actually gave to us from the beginning.
Thank you. Thanks, Dave. Just before you pose your question, the last question will be Al. If we can hang on that long, we got 5 more questioners. Is that okay? Candidates? Good. Go ahead, sorry.
My name is Carol McTaggart, and I've been living in Uxbridge, right in town here, for 30 years. Raised our family here. Beautiful, beautiful, wonderful town. My question is, the Council of Canadians with Disabilities, a national disability rights organization, is highlighting a recent statement by the United Nations human rights experts condemning the growing trend towards legalizing in Canada medically assisted death. Medically assisted death for people with disabilities who are not at end of life as definitive evidence. That Bill C7, the Liberal government's proposed expansion of Canada's MAID law, is a direct violation of Canada's commitment as a signatory to the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. So my question is, as a representative of all the citizens of our riding, would you be willing to address this issue of medical assistance in dying, with regard to how it affects the
people with disabilities?
People with disabilities. And would you be willing to address this issue to protect the increasingly vulnerable population in our communities? And that question is for everyone.
Okay. Justin?
Yeah, so the NDP are planning to double the amount of money that a lot of people with unique disabilities are getting, in hopes of trying to help out their quality of life and make it so it's not so hard on them. As far as the MAID stuff, I'm not too in depth with it. As far as I know, there's certain laws based around it to make sure that there's things are being handled properly. But an extension to that, I don't know about either, and I can't speak to that, so I apologize. But yeah, I think we need to protect our vulnerable Canadians 100%. I have a father that he got in a bad snowmobile accident when I was younger. Full brain damage basically, and had to learn. We were lucky enough that they wanted to pull the plug, and we didn't allow them to. He was able to stay alive and stay with us for quite a long time after that. But it was very hard to live due to the fact of the support that we had. So I think we do need to support our vulnerable Canadians.
Okay, and,
Thanks,
and
Justin.
the issue is that the laws in Canada are now making the vulnerable, the handicapped.
They're at odds with the
exactly.
Yeah, I'll have to look into that.
They're being
yeah.
offered medical assistance in dying is being offered to these vulnerable people as well as veterans and poor people. So the slope is really slippery. And
Yeah.
this article was actually from the UN saying to Canada, this is unacceptable.
Okay, let
and
the
we need
candidates
to-
respond. Patricia,
Sorry,
please.
yes, thank you.
Yeah, I really have a lot of knowledge in healthcare, and what I see is truly disturbing. Canada has one of the highest MAID rates in the world, the longest wait times, and people who are hopeless can get MAID now. There's a real problem that we can fix. I'd rather encourage people towards solutions, support them in their disabilities, give them real alternatives to help with pain management, and help them have a high quality of life through financial support. But I definitely do not support expanding this further and further. I think it is a slippery slope, a lot of these policies promote death over life. When you look at MAID itself, it is not humane. I've talked to many people about this, and the drug they give is a sort of the way that it paralyzes people. So, I mean, there's a lot that can be learned. Again, it is a freedom of choice if that's a decision, but it shouldn't be made easily or quickly. And I definitely support strengthening support for disability, for
Rob?
Sure. I'm not familiar with C7, just so you know. I think it's a difficult personal decision. My experience over my lifetime is that I have met many people who have various disabilities, some crucial, and they have become productive people within our society, and I will support them. I'll do whatever I can in the future to make sure that they become productive human beings in my society. If there are issues that are so drastic that they need to make a decision, a family decision, then I think that we have to give them the ability to do that. But I've seen so many people that are great people that have huge disabilities, and I've skated with them on the ice. So,
Matt.
Again, I'm not super well read into this. What I can say is the Green Party supports expanding home care and community care so people can have help at home, in their homes, with their families, and in their local communities.
Thank you very much.
Great.
And thanks for the question. Next questioner.
Okay, good evening. My name is Louis Bertrand. I live in Scugog. Haven't lived there for very long. I moved there and I quite like it. First, and also thank you, candidates, and everybody here for taking the time. I feel like I'm going to be a bad smell in an elevator, but I'm going to talk about climate change.
Woo! Climate change, okay.
I'm going to be able to get that out of my head.
No, seriously, we're hearing from all the parties about pipelines east, pipelines west, exploit our oil and gas without understanding what the consequences are to the climate. And when we talk about climate, you know, like, I mean, it's a faraway thing. It's been called a slow-moving emergency. You really don't see it till you get an ice storm, till you get was a couple of years ago, the derecho, right? That it basically, it wiped out, I mean, we can still see down trees all along Highway 35. And tornadoes hitting Ottawa, missed my aunt's missed my aunt's house by a few.
Okay, I'm going to open the elevator door and ask you to speak before you leave.
How? Okay.
Just don't breathe in.
How are you going to transition the economy from oil and gas, pure resource exploitation, to transform that economy into manufacturing? We've lost the race to China. We've lost the race to Denmark. Denmark is using Canadian patents. How are you going to transition that economy to something that's, first of all, sustainable and take care of those people who are in the automotive industry, the oil and gas industry, all those industries that require oil and gas?
Matt, that's yours.
Thank you, and I appreciate the question. It starts with creating clean power projects, and we can do that across the country. We need a national energy grid. Right now, our energy grid is segregated. Quebec, Ontario, the Maritimes have their own thing going on. The prairies have their own thing going on. BC's out here. We need to integrate that, and we can move power around the country. There's a problem with transmission, but it can be overcome. It comes with research into the new economy. It doesn't mean we stop oil and gas. It doesn't mean we stop, but we do have to slow down the rip and ship sort of idea of dig coal out, ship it across, get paid, we're done. Pump crude oil, send it to Texas, get it refined. No, we need to start building these long-term ideas here at home, and it can be, you know, as simple as a couple solar panels on your roof, and we could have federal incentives to build those in this country. They're not that difficult to make anymore.
Rob, excuse me, Rob.
So I'm going to step from the policy. I agree with Matt. He makes perfect sense. We need something that is unifying, credible, and reliable, and Matt has laid it out. That's why, you know,
What's your address? He wants to send the solar panel to you.
Yeah.
I'll bill you later.
We need to sit at the table and discuss these kinds of issues, and you know, I can work with the Green Party.
Patricia?
Thank you very much.
Yeah, good.
So, you know, we would advocate for resilient infrastructure, which we urgently need, high-speed rail, transport, better emergency planning, support, and increases for first responders. When it comes to climate itself, the People's Party platform is to diversify. We have more ethical oil than anyone. Why are we importing oil from dictators on dangerous tankers when we can have our own oil?
Good point.
I'm also an advocate for diversity, including clean nuclear energy. There is a place for solar on residential, but these solar farms can be quite harmful and take away from our farmland. When it comes to windmills, there are issues. Killing our bird and whale population, and they're contaminating our landfills. Electric cars as well. Is that the solution? They're using a lot of rare earth minerals mined with slave labor in Africa. So again, we don't want to electrify the grid. Look what happened in California. The key is diversification with our own rich energy sources and securing east-west pipelines so we're not dependent on our oil going down into the U.S.
Okay, thank you very much. Justin.
So yeah, I'm going to get this quick out of the way. I think we are leaders in nuclear energy. I think that's huge. I think we need to catch up. That's the technology of the future, but it's not just one thing that's going to power us. We need to have a little bit of everything. Just a mosaic of Canadians in this room. We need to have many different options and make sure that we have energy for future infrastructure like we've discussed and energy to build us past into the future to make us successful and wealthy.
Thank you for the mosaic analogy. I like it. Thanks for the question. Second last question.
My name is Owen Ritchie. I'm from Uxbridge. I haven't heard much about your guys' plans for young Canadians. And outside of like the last question, there hasn't been much talk of the future past 10 years. My question is, how will you guys increase opportunities for us young Canadians to create our own futures?
So the building minister will go first, the housing minister here. Yeah, and that's what we're talking about. We want to get young people into trades. I think that it's, a lot of people are always, I worked in trades and my body started to shut down. I was awarded an opportunity to go back to school, re-educate myself. Not everyone gets that.
What if he's an artist?
If he's an artist,
Not a
that's wonderful
tradesperson.
too.
Maybe, what if he's an artist?
Yeah, but so that's a great job. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that either. But at the end of the day, we need to support the children coming up, the people coming up, and support. It's going to be new jobs, right? When I was younger, there's a lot of different jobs that are not really there today. So it's an ever-moving economy. We have to train the future to be able to attack that economy, and that way we're not reliant on other people.
Thanks. Patricia?
Thank you for your question. I'm a lifelong entrepreneur, so I think it's really important what's been happening to our kids. A lot of them are hopeless right now. So we've got to fuel, we got to protect, enable education, get kids into the trades, lower income tax so you have more money, lower corporate taxes, abolish a capital gains tax so we can compete with other countries, restore manufacturing so you can have real jobs. I also am an advocate to remove DEI. I find it discrimination. Everybody should be hired based on merit and attitude, irregardless of any external traits. And support apprenticeship, grants, scholarships, everything to get you ahead in life and lower the cost of living so you can afford. If he's an artist, let's support art. We need great artists.
How will you support
I
him?
have an arts degree.
Show me how you'd make his life better and more promising than he's clearly indicating with the worry of the 10 years ahead.
Actually, one of the members of my team is a local artist and an incredible artist, and I fully support his work.
Thank you. Rob?
Well, thank you for your question. You know, that's part of the problem right now in this country, is that young people feel disillusioned when it comes to being part of whatever's going on, and you need to be part of the solution. And we need to sit at the table and decide what you want to do. And if that includes some incentive for trades and training, or to support the artist community. I've been down that road at many times in my own community, and I think it comes back, and I've said this word before, it's partnerships. We've got to put the federal government together with the provincial government and the local government to come up with a solution for people like you.
How many times when you were mayor did you sit down with young people?
I had the Mayor's Youth Forum, which won a national, well, and I guess a regional award. We met every month with the young people in the community. I gave them challenges where I would say, okay, we only have $10 million, but we have $35 million in wants within this community. What are you going to tell me that we need? Well, those were very animated conversations, I can tell you. And I think young people, that's one of the problems in our country today. We need more young people to step up, and we need to provide them with the resources that they need to be truly partners within this country.
Matt?
So, thank you.
I think step one is not having 17, 18, 19-year-olds sign up for $50,000 of OSAP debt, and they are crippled when they graduate. You know, my partner's been through this, you know, graduated $50,000 in debt. I think that we could have maybe a 0 interest rate, and it comes off your paycheck over time. We need to invest in masters and journeymen taking on apprentices. There needs to be a more robust apprentice program here, and there needs to be more federal incentives for masters to take on apprentices, because being 40 and having an 18-year-old kid ask you questions all day can be quite taxing.
No.
Welcome to parenthood.
Yeah. Well,
So you would know.
and you know, those apprentices end up having, you know, building the country. I mean, you were an apprentice at some point, as was I, and I also think having $40,000 no income tax, when you start out,
let me tell you, you're making less than 40 grand, or you're making around 40 grand when you start out. If you didn't have to pay income tax every paycheck, that would give you a little nest egg to start investing, to start putting away, move out of your parents' house, whatever it may be, whatever you choose. I just think those are ways that we can help young people succeed.
I hope that's given you some light at the end of the tunnel. Thanks for the question.
Yeah, thank you for the question.
Our last questioner.
Yeah.
Hello, my name's Al Bainbridge. I served in the military for 23 years. I was a communications technician. I served 3 UN peacekeeping tours, and I'd just like to mention about that lady who was talking about Palestine. The basic thing that happened was at the end of the Second World War, Palestine was on the wrong side. They were with the Vichy French in North Africa. And what happened was, they got their piece of land, Israel got theirs. But since that time, Israel has had a dozen wars every 9 or 10 years. Now, basically what Israel want, they want Palestine to say, you have the right to live here, and we have the right to live here. But that isn't the fact. And we have Hamas running Palestine, so any money, anything you send there is gone. I don't know how you're going to solve it. Mr. Trump had a great idea, but...
Well, we were with you up until about that point, Al.
You can't displace 3 million people, but I really, honestly, don't know how you're going to solve it. The Canadians did UN peacekeeping in Palestine, Gaza, the whole 9 yards, for 50 years. And I don't know how you're going to change it. You can't change people's attitude.
Yeah, that's true.
Al, thank you for helping us clarify, and thanks for the history lesson.
All I
It's
wanted to
important.
say was that if Palestine have enough money that they can afford to fire 200 or 300 missiles a day into Israel, they should have enough money to run the whole place.
Did you have a question, Al?
No, I don't have a question.
Okay.
Any question that I would have is, I don't think we, even with all the brain power in the room, we could solve the problem. Because you have to have cooperation.
You're right.
If you don't have cooperation, you can't do it.
You're right.
Thank you for your service. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for your service.
Okay, I have one last question, and maybe this will allow you to...
Can I ask a question? I just can't stand long, so I waited till everybody came through.
Okay, we're beyond the time that we had
I know.
allotted.
I just have
Very
to go
quickly,
quick.
please, very quickly.
Roger can say I'm never quick, but I will be tonight. I just want to know, we've had one public school young lady here, one high school young man here. I know it's been a short campaign, but have you engaged when you've gone to different residence homes or whatever, for the ones that have the high school students that are able to vote in this election, in the next local election later this year, 5 years from now, have you done something to encourage in the month of February high school people to vote? Because you can't rely on us seniors to always get you in. You need the younger crowd too, for the future. So my question is, during this campaign and for the future, if you continue to be in politics, how are you going to increase having more than 2 kids coming up here to ask you questions?
Thank you.
Well, the thing is, we're a little boring, I think. So, but no, it's a valid point, and I think that for me, I'm in the community all the time. I'm a coach. I try to be a leader in the community, and I just try to lead by example. And I don't really push anything on the kids, but I try to make them aware of this and what's going on. It's been a little of a quick election this time. I haven't been able to do that since I've jumped up into this spot and asking for you guys to vote for me. So it hasn't happened, to your question, hasn't happened right now, but I spent my whole life when I had my company and I was hiring people, it was always the young people coming up and trying to learn them, and that's what we're here to do, right, is try to give them what we have so they can have something better, right?
Patricia?
Great question. Actually, one of the highest supporters for People's Party is the youth. We've had youth on our team. Youth are feeling extremely disillusioned right now. I've been a soccer coach. I'm a soccer player. I've always been a teacher, help inspire our youth. And the youth feel hopeless. They feel betrayed. They feel they don't have a future, a path to a home ownership, and that's wrong. We're a rich country. Something is fundamentally wrong when our youth, the highest suicide rates we've ever had. I know 2 of my friends' sons committed suicide because they don't see a future. And that's why we need bold change, and we need to support our youth. They are our future, and I'm going to take a strong stand to give them a great life forward.
Thank you. Rob?
So I'll go off script here. I don't even know what the Liberal Party of Canada would say, but you know what? I had great success with my Mayor's Youth Council. I will propose right now that in York Durham, we have a youth council that I meet with as your representative.
Aren't you glad I asked you that?
Yeah, sure, why not? On a regular basis, because I think, they feel disengaged, and you really got to get down and talk to them and find out, because you know what I often find out?
They're not down.
No.
They're right at our level.
I know. But we need to engage them and listen to their point of view. It's going to be difficult to get them off their electronic devices, but we have to do that.
Matt?
I think Rob touched on it at the very end there. To engage young people, you have to engage them where they are, which is on their phone, on their tablets. We need to do a better job of inspiring people on social media to be involved in the political system, involved in having a say in the future, and I think a lot of young people are disenfranchised with that they don't have a vote. But if they really had a better understanding of how the election works, and to be honest, this is my first time running, and even I'm learning a lot of things this time, I think if they had a better idea of how everything actually worked, they would become more involved.
Okay, audience, you've been fabulous with your questions. Can we hang on for about another 5 minutes or 6 minutes to allow the candidates to wrap up their thoughts without everybody stampeding out of the building? It's very distracting. This is important to them. The only thing I'm going to ask you is you make your way through your final comments, because you've had a chance to cover a lot of different issues. Somebody posed this question, and I think it's a wonderful way to close the stitching on this evening. This is a question suggested by someone in the room, and I thank you for it. To all candidates, Wilfrid Laurier spoke of the 20th century belonging to Canada. What is your grand vision for this century for Canada? You got 2 minutes each. Jeez. Okay? Use your notes, the ones that you prepared for the closing statements, but think about it in terms of a vision, because we're all looking for that.
Can I borrow yours, Rob?
What did he say? What did you say?
I said, can I borrow yours?
Yeah, sure.
Yes, these are closing remarks. Yeah, okay. We'll go in the order that opposite initially.
Opposite.
Thanks,
Sorry,
Patricia.
sorry, good call,
We're going in the
Patricia, thank you.
opposite the order that we started, and it's Patricia first. Sorry, Patricia.
No worries at all. Our nation is hurting, and families can't pay their bills, our streets feel unsafe, and our future hangs in the balance. We can't afford to vote for the lesser of 2 evils. I'm Patricia Conlon, and I'm here to fight for you, for every Canadian who dreams of freedom, of financial security, of a country we're proud to call home. Let's face the truth. No one wants Trudeau in power, and we're glad he's gone. A lot of damage was done. But Pierre Poilievre and the Conservatives have also failed as the opposition. They've let harmful policies, crippling taxes, rising crime, censorship, and a broken healthcare system run wild without a real stand. Poilievre offers fake slogans while pushing the opposite: a losing trade war with the U.S., mass migration, reckless development on our green spaces. The Conservatives didn't even show up for the debate, and it was the same in my by-election last year. How can you trust them? That's not leadership, it's surrender. We deserve better. PPC is the real deal. I'm here to listen to all of you. It doesn't matter where you came from, if you're Canadian, what you identify as, what the color of your skin is, or what your religion is. I want to unify our country and community. I'll always be honest, listen to you, and offer real solutions. I have deep knowledge in many areas, and I care deeply about this community. I'll cut the wasteful spending, uphold the law, deport criminals, and make our streets safe again. I'm here fighting for a future that we deserve. This is a great nation. I'll fight for policies that let you afford a home if you're young, build a family, and believe in your future, have meaningful work, restore our resource sector, and stop the inaction of all the mainstream parties. Everyone deserves real leadership. I'm here to help you conserve your money, your freedom, and your health, and restore our healthy and prosperous communities. On election day, I hope you vote for Patricia Conlon, a true conservative who shows up, will speak the truth, and never wavers in fighting for you and your family so we can protect Canadian values and our great Canadian sovereignty. Vote for me so together we can build that strong and free Canada that we all love so much. Thank you.
Thanks, Patricia. And in case you've forgotten, the NDP represented by Justin Graham.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for coming here tonight. I really appreciate the overwhelming amount of people that came. Again, I think I was told there was only 40 people coming, but that's been blown out of the water. And all the questions were very good, and I'm here to learn from you guys. The NDP may have given me a platform to stand on and shout at, but really I'm here to listen to you. And get your voice heard at the higher levels and at the tables where we needed to get heard. I care about this riding, and I want to support you guys, and I want you guys to support me, and I hope you vote for me. And again, it was very nice meeting everybody, and I hope to have long conversations with you anytime. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Matt Pierce, representing the Green Party of Canada.
I didn't prepare a closing statement. I thought I'd wing it, just like Justin did here.
Give me your vision. Matt, you're the youngest one here. Give us a sense of your vision of Canada.
So I actually read The Canadian Century. That was, I read a couple essays about that and a book about it. I think it comes down to investment into the future, not only through... It's an investment in everything. It's an investment in infrastructure. It's an investment in healthcare. It's an investment in people. It's an investment in everything. It's an investment in our peace and our security and our sovereignty. We need to make sure that, we just do better all the time. And, we need to make sure this country's free and fair for everybody and that everybody can lead a good life. And that's why we're here. We're all trying to make, I think everybody here is in agreement that we're all just trying to make everybody's lives better through our own personal experiences. Thanks, vote for me.
And Rob Grossi from the Liberal Party of Canada.
Yeah, I have a 15-minute speech, if that's okay.
You know what I did with the last
Yeah,
time?
I saw it.
Microphone,
I saw it. First of all, thank you, Ted. Thank you, Alicia. Thank you, everybody with Cosmos, for having this forum here. This has been fantastic. I think Justin said a little bit earlier, the word I would use is mosaic. When I was growing up, I remember that word, and I remember how I looked at other people in my school, and I thought, wow, we're not all the same, And I think that's where we're going in this country. We want to reinvigorize what this country is all about. It's about different people, different cultures. But I'm ready, and I'm willing, and I'm capable of going to Ottawa to represent all of you. My past has shown that I will show up every day and work with all parties to come to a respectable solution. Like I said before, this is the most important election of my lifetime, and probably yours. Supporting our communities is nothing new to me and my family. My commitment as a volunteer is something that I cherish. I will get a security clearance. I don't wish to control the press, So please encourage all of your friends and neighbors to vote on April 28th. If you can see fit to vote me as your member of parliament, I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you for coming here this evening.
Not only concise, but brief. All of you, thank you. Want to take another moment to thank Leisha for all the work she's done in making sure this happened tonight. About a year ago, she asked me if I had some spare time. I said no, and she said, that's why I asked you. And she got me to adjudicate editorials from across the North American continent for an agency that she's a member of with her newspaper. And I learned from reading all those editorials how dependent we are on individuals such as she to make sure that you know what's going on around you. It's not easy when you're a one-person band. And we support Leisha, but she's the leader. She's at the sharp end. And all of the work she does to make sure that voices are heard, ads are placed, people get the information they need, the township has a voice to call and to listen to what's going on in this community and understand what's needed. She's there to do all this, and it's a one-person show. And it's like that all across the continent. What we have here in this community with Leisha and the Cosmos is precious. Let's make sure we can keep that going too. Thanks so much. Yeah. Want to thank our sound technician ace, Larry Whitelock. Larry has been here for 30 years doing these. Stand up. Oh, he is standing. There he is. Thanks, Larry. And a final thought for the evening from me. We've all chosen freely to attend this forum tonight, both candidates and constituents. That's why we're called a participatory democracy. You've illustrated that tonight by staying here, putting up with my cat herding, and my interrupting your statements and thoughts. But I think the end result has been very positive. I want to thank the candidates for their commitment to their party, to their constituents, to their families, because I'm sure they're giving up a lot to allow you to do all this, and to your community. Thanks to you, the citizens of York. I can't get used to saying York-Durham, but we got to get used to that, to the riding. Please think long and hard about what was said here tonight. Evaluate in your own minds what they've tried to present to you as their policies and the way they would lead this country. Think long and hard, too, about the fact that they chose to come here tonight to answer your questions, and some did not. Think long and hard about who cares about representing you, as these people care to, and then sit down, think, talk, listen, and go out and vote. The advance polls open on April the 18th and run through the 21st, and the election happens on the 28th. Make sure you make your vote count so that the work these people are doing can be responded to in kind. Thank you so much.